Hello, my name's Deacon George Wunderlich, and I'm here for thosecatholicmen.com. You know, bravery is something that all men aspire to. Some really raise it to a level, though, that's almost unbelievable. We need a certain bravery to follow our faith. We need a certain amount of fortitude to move forward when the world seems against us. And there are men that we can look to in our past to really show us a guiding light of just how that's done. One such person is Master Sgt Benavidez. He was in Vietnam in 1968. There are stories that say that he was listening to Mass when a radio call came in. 12 men were surrounded by a very large unit of several hundred Viet Cong, and they were under withering fire and were being asked for immediate extradition. The sergeant jumped onto an aircraft, said, "I'm coming with you," and in his haste, he didn't take a rifle. The only weapon he had on him was a Bowie knife that he carried everywhere. When they came to the place of landing to pick these men up, they could not land safely anywhere near them. He instructed the pilot to land some 75 yards away, and while doing that and making his way across that 75 yards, he was wounded at least 2 times. 4 of the men were dead. The other 8 were under terrible, terrible fire. He started to move them to the helicopter, taking several more wounds, shrapnel wounds, grenade wounds. And just as he was getting everyone on the helicopter, the pilot was shot dead, the helicopter came down, and another backup had to be made. A backup helicopter had to be brought in from somewhere else while they were still under fire. The whole time, the sergeant was extolling the men to pray. He himself was heard to pray, numerous times making the sign of the cross. Another helicopter eventually appeared, and that helicopter was able to pick these men up. He was able to get all of the wounded onto the helicopter. He then went back into the battle to the body of one of the men who had fallen and pulled out from around his neck an important packet of classified papers that included radio codes and frequencies. He wound up in a hand-to-hand fight at one point where he was hit twice in the head with a buttstock of a rifle. He picked up AK-47s and M16s and passed the ammunition out to his men during this terrible fight. And eventually, making his way back to the helicopter, he would be stabbed not once, but twice by a bayonet, one time grabbing the bayonet in his hand and having the man pull it out, cut his hand very badly. Eventually, he was able to beat that man away, stab him with his knife, and move on. Finally getting onto the helicopter and being propped up against a friend, he was flown back to a base where he was declared dead. He was put into a body bag, and in the last moment, he could hear that he was about to be zipped into the bag, and he was able to do nothing more than spit. And that spit let the doctor know, as he spat out of the bag, that the man was still alive, suffering wounds to his lung, his back, his shoulders, his abdomen, holding his intestines in with his own hand. He never, during the flight, stopped prayerfully calling upon God to give him the strength that he needed to go on. He would be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor and die in the late 1990s. Isn't that the kind of bravery we should all aspire to have when defending our faith? And isn't that the fortitude we all need to see through to the end?